July 27th, 1944, near Saint-de-la-Gaste, Normandy, France. The morning air carried smoke and the sharp tang of iron. An 88mm shell punched through the Sherman's hull with a metallic shriek, a sound that should have spelled death for all 5 crewmen inside. And yet, it didn't. Through the sight of a Panther gunner from the 2nd SS Panzer Division, Das Reich, the scene unfolded like a nightmare from every training manual. He waited, anticipating the eruption of flames that always followed a successful penetration. Target destroyed, or so it should have been. The driver advanced 20 meters for a better angle on the second tank. The flames never came. The Sherman's turret swung, 76mm gun seeking vengeance, and the German loader froze, hand on the next round. Confusion painted their faces. That American tank should have been a burning coffin by now. Every piece of intelligence from Russia to Africa had promised it. And yet, here it was, alive. What the Panther crew saw that morning was nothing short of a revolution in tank warfare. A revolution German forces had completely missed. The M4A376W Sherman, equipped with Wet-Stowage ammunition, double-walled bins filled with 38 gallons of fire-suppressant liquid, designed to stop the catastrophic ammo fires German gunners had counted on since 1942. This modification, present in every Sherman tank produced after January 1944, reduced the probability of fire after penetration from 60, even 80%, down to 10, maybe 15. Across the Norman countryside, the 2nd Armored Division surged forward with 104 of these improved Shermans. Not one German report, not a single briefing, not even a whispered rumor had warned them. Their assumptions about American armor had become dangerously obsolete. The transformation began long before, in the aftermath of disaster, February 14th, 1943. Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. American armor lay burning across the valley floor. M4 Shermans turned into crematoriums by German 88mm guns. Out of 300 American tanks, 183 were destroyed, most consumed by ammunition fires that killed entire crews in seconds. Studies showed up to 80% of Shermans burned completely. The ordnance analysts discovered the brutal truth. It was the ammunition, not gasoline, that ignited most fires. The 70 rounds stored in open racks became instant infernos when struck. The solution came from a DuPont chemical engineer. Liquid around the ammunition. At first, it seemed absurd, filling the compartment with water, turning tanks into submarines. But Through clever design, it evolved to elegance. Double-walled ammunition containers, liquid cavities positioned in the hull floor away from likely impact. By December 1933, Press Steel Car in Pennsylvania was retooling its lines. The first M4 A376W rolled off January 3, 1944. The W stood for wet. Few understood why, yet the results would be staggering. Tests at Aberdeen Proving Ground. German 75mm, 88mm guns fired at ammunition bins. Dry storage detonated 73% of the time. Wet storage, only 15%. Pillars of flame versus puffs of smoke extinguished in seconds.
Each bin, concentric, double-walled cells, 10 rounds per cell, filled with water, glycol, finally a solution called amudamp. Chemistry solved freezing, corrosion, and fire suppression. The M4A376W carried 100 rounds in floor storage, 4 ready rounds, protected by 37 gallons of liquid. Survival dramatically improved. By April 1944, 130 M4A376W Shermans arrived in England. Deployed carefully, the tanks first saw combat during Operation Cobra, July 25th. Carpet bombing cleared the way. American armor surged, the 2nd and 3rd Armored Divisions leading with the first Wet-Stowage Shermans in Europe. Panzer divisions devastated, prepared ambushes. Panthers fired, achieved penetrations, yet many Shermans continued fighting, withdrew under their own power, unburned. German crews baffled. They had not faced M4A376W and M4A176W Shermans from the 67th and 33rd Armored Regiments. Tanks they believed destroyed returned within 48 hours. Those that burned usually struck in the engine compartment. Ammunition protection worked exactly as designed. German tactical assumptions failed. Shermans survived. Counterattacks met stronger opposition than anticipated. The engineering behind the system, exceptional. Double-walled containers, half a gallon of liquid per 10 rounds, tested against freezing, corrosion, bacterial growth, perfected with amudamp. Every shell fragment that penetrated flooded out, soaked propellant, prevented catastrophe. Minor damage instead of total loss. German intelligence, analyzing older Shermans from Tunisia, distributed bulletins, trained gunners to aim at sponsons. Doctrine became fixed. But when Wet-Stowage Shermans arrived, they fought a ghost enemy. Reports of tanks surviving penetrations dismissed as exaggeration. And so the modification remained invisible. Industrial coordination, speed of production, subtlety of implementation turned every American armored operation from January 1944 to war's end into a lesson in invisible advantage. German crews fought the wrong enemy with obsolete tactics. They missed the quiet revolution inside the Shermans. The wet-stowage system saved lives, multiplied combat effectiveness, shortened the war. From Operation Cobra to the Reich's last defenses, hundreds of wet-stowage Shermans faced battle. German crews captured them, yet never understood their secret. American engineering, quiet, practical, lethal, had changed everything without anyone realizing it.
The battles of Normandy unfolded like a living nightmare and a revelation. Operation Cobra, July 25, 1944, had torn open the German lines. American armor surged forward, 2nd and 3rd Armored Divisions leading the charge, their wet-stowage Shermans proving invincible where history had predicted annihilation. German intelligence, relying on outdated assessments, assumed they faced the same vulnerable Shermans of North Africa. Panthers achieved penetrations, shells punched into holes, yet tanks continued to roll, guns returning fire, crews alive. Confusion swept through German units like wildfire. Major General Maurice Rose's 3rd Armored Division spearheaded the assault. 200 improved Shermans, a spearhead that would advance 100 miles in 7 days, fighting dozens of engagements, counterattacks meant to destroy them, faltering against tanks that refused to die. German planners, assuming American armored strength was 60% of reality, were blind to the invisible multiplication of power. Every knocked-out Sherman with wet-stowage, repaired, returned to the fight, maintaining cohesion, preserving momentum. The 30th Infantry Division at Mortain, supported by these tanks, shattered the German offensive. The 743rd Tank Battalion absorbed repeated attacks by SS and Wehrmacht panzer units. Penetrations were scored, yet cohesion held. Combat effectiveness endured across 6 grueling days. By September 1944, the Battle of Aricourt would illustrate the new reality most clearly. The 113th Panzer Brigade, confident, attacked expecting destruction. Panthers and Panzer IVs fired at close range, achieved hits, penetrations, but the Americans counterattacked with unexpected strength. Out of 151 Sherman losses reported, only 41 were complete write-offs. 110, repaired, returned within a week. German intelligence, counting all as permanent losses, believed the 4th Armored Division should have been combat ineffective, yet it remained offensive, relentless, alive. Even General Patton, initially skeptical of the 76mm Shermans, reversed his judgment after Aricourt. Third Army embraced only wet-stowage, recognizing that survivability plus firepower equaled unmatched combat capability. Autumn 1944. 2nd generation improved Shermans arrived. The M4A3E8 Easy 8 incorporated lessons learned. Improved suspension, wider tracks for mobility despite added weight, refined ammunition storage for better crew access, and the jumbo M4A3E2, frontal armor up to 4 inches, turret 6 inches. Combined with wet stowage, it absorbed punishment German crews expected would destroy entire companies. Operation Watch on the Rhine, December 16, 1944. Germany's last desperate offensive in the West. Intelligence assumed American tank losses would follow 1933 patterns. Concentrated panzer attacks expected to eliminate American units piecemeal. And yet, the Shermans survived.
SS Oceanbahnführer Joachim Peiper, spearheading the 1st SS Panzer Division near Stoumont, recorded numerous penetrations, yet the 743rd Tank Battalion held. American tanks kept fighting, even after direct hits that should have destroyed them. Frustration etched into post-war interrogations. The 761st Tank Battalion, the African-American Black Panthers, demonstrated the advantage of wet stow through 183 continuous days of combat, including the Ardennes. Staff Sergeant Reuben Rivers, posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. His tank took 2 direct hull hits on November 19th. Ammunition didn't ignite. His crew survived and continued fighting. As 1945 dawned, German forces increasingly captured intact wet stowage Shermans. Operation Nordwind, numerous M4A376W tanks from the 43rd Tank Battalion were seized near Hildesheim. German crews operated them for days, oblivious to the liquid-filled ammunition containers. Intelligence had failed completely. By early 1945, the Waffen Technical Intelligence Branch had effectively ceased functioning. Remaining specialists focused on desperate wonder weapon projects rather than enemy equipment. Even if frontline troops noted the difference, no system existed to process or disseminate it. The U.S. Army Operations Research Office later documented the transformation. Pre-modification Shermans burned in 60 to 80% of penetrating hits. Wet stowage tanks, only 10 to 15%. Invisible multiplication of strength. A battalion of 50 Shermans, suffering 30 penetrating hits, would have lost 18 to 24 tanks with dry stowage. With wet stowage, only 3 to 5 burned. 25 to 27 repairable. Combat effectiveness maintained, not lost. Across Europe, this advantage accumulated. Conservative estimates suggest at least 1,000 tanks prevented from burning, 5,000 trained crews saved, dozens of battalions preserved. German planning never updated, still operating on obsolete assumptions. Post-war interrogations confirm it. Not a single German account mentions recognition of the wet stowage modification. Autumn Carius, Ernst Bachmann, Unit Histories of the 2nd SS Panzer, 116th Panzer Division. Silent. Private recollections, uncensored, still unaware. Intelligence failure, complete. Multiple factors created this blind spot. German analysis used pre-modification specimens. By the time wet-stowage Shermans appeared, forces had shifted to defense, limited opportunity for systematic intelligence, organizational dysfunction. Field observations failed to reach analysts. Agencies competed, shared little. Resources constrained, captured vehicles sent immediately into service. Cultural overconfidence reduced the perceived need for detailed enemy study. And yet, the modification remained invisible. No change in appearance, no new tactics, no announcement. German intelligence, searching for dramatic innovation, missed a quiet revolution inside American tanks. Lessons endure. Technical intelligence must evolve continuously. The enemy of yesterday may not be the enemy faced today. Evolutionary improvements, subtle, practical, sometimes more decisive than grand redesigns. Identify the problem, solve it, implement immediately. Wet-stowage did not just save lives, it multiplied effectiveness, preserved combat strength, shortened the war. It remained hidden, yet decisive. A quiet victory.
As 1945 dawned, the frozen fields of Europe bore witness to the consequences of innovation and ignorance. The wet-stowage Shermans moved across the Rhine, across the Ardennes, their liquid-filled hearts unseen, yet unstoppable. German forces, desperate, began capturing these tanks, yet understanding eluded them. Operation Nordwind, January 1945. The 43rd Tank Battalion lost vehicles near Hildesheim. Captured, intact, yet German crews did not comprehend the secret inside. The ammunition bins, double-walled and soaked with ammudamp, remained a mystery. Day after day, tanks that should have exploded under fire survived, returned to the fight, and multiplied the strength of the American armored divisions. By this point, German technical intelligence was fractured. Specialists focused on dreams of wonder weapons, unable to track the subtle transformation happening in enemy tanks. Field reports ignored, observations filtered through a bureaucracy blind to change. Even if someone had noticed, there was no mechanism to act. The wet-stowage modification, an invisible force shaping the course of battles. Across the European theater, the numbers spoke quietly but profoundly. Pre-modification Shermans burned in 60 to 80% of penetrating hits, with wet-stowage only 10 to 15%. A battalion of 50 tanks enduring 30 hits would have lost nearly half with dry storage. With wet storage, only 3 to 5 lost. Combat effectiveness preserved, momentum maintained, victories multiplied invisibly. Think of it. Across the continent, 1,000 tanks saved from fiery death, 5,000 trained crews alive, countless engagements won because the enemy did not see what was right before them. German operational plans built on obsolete assumptions faltered again and again. The Battle of the Bulge, the Ardennes, the Rhine crossings, wet-stowage Shermans turned expected American disasters into manageable risks.
Panthers and Panzer IVs fired, achieved penetrations, yet tanks kept moving, guns still firing, crews still alive. Intelligence, strategy, expectation, all broken against unseen engineering. And still not a single German report acknowledged it. Otto Carius, Ernst Bachmann, diaries, memoirs, unit histories, silent. Private recollections, official accounts, blind to the innovation inside every American tank. The intelligence failure was complete, absolute. Multiple reasons, pre-modification specimens, defensive shifts, organizational dysfunction, competing agencies, resource constraints, and cultural overconfidence. Yet the most important factor, the modification's invisibility. No outward sign, no special tactics, no announcement. Just quiet, persistent survival.
Lessons endure beyond history. Technical intelligence must evolve, adapt. Never assume yesterday's enemy is today's threat. Practical, evolutionary improvements. Solving specific problems can decide wars quietly, invisibly. Sometimes the subtle innovation proves mightier than grandiose redesigns. Wet-Stowage did not just save lives, it preserved combat strength, multiplied effectiveness, shortened the war, maintained momentum. It was simple, elegant, deadly, by remaining hidden. Every major American armored operation in 1944 and 1945 benefited from this invisible advantage. Operation Cobra through the final defense of the Reich. Hundreds of captured tanks operated by Germans, yet unrecognized, their secret unbroken. Engineers did not design deception, yet invisibility became their greatest weapon. German tank crews fought the wrong enemy, using outdated tactics based on false assumptions. They struck Shermans expecting fire, expecting destruction, yet found resistance, mobility, persistence. The modification did not just save lives, it preserved units, accelerated German defeat, and shortened the conflict. Multiply this across 1,000 battles, countless skirmishes, dozens of divisions, and you see the quiet, hidden hand of innovation at work. A simple change, Wet-Stowage, altering history while remaining invisible to those most in need of seeing it. This is a story not of flashy weapons or heroic last stands. It is a story of subtle genius, of careful problem-solving, of practicality triumphing over expectation. Wet-Stowage Sherman's a silent revolution in armored warfare, saving thousands, multiplying strength, and rewriting the course of the final year of World War II. The story of Wet-Stowage is a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories are those the enemy never understands, that survival itself can be the deadliest weapon, and that history is shaped not only by what is seen, but by what quietly endures, hidden in plain sight.
And so ends our journey through one of World War II's most remarkable but little-known stories. A story of innovation, resilience, and the quiet brilliance that changed history without anyone noticing. Until now. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden victories of the Wet-Stowage Shermans, if the story, the suspense, and the history captured your imagination, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps support the channel and lets me know you love this kind of storytelling. And if you want to join me for more incredible stories, hidden histories, forgotten battles, and the moments that shaped our world, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an adventure. Thank you for listening. Thank you for exploring history with me. And remember, sometimes the quietest innovations make the loudest impact. I'll see you in the next story.